to first5california.com. Speaking of toxic stress, it's 49ers offseason. Quarterback talk, drama, all that. It's the last day I'm going to talk about it, Larry. You know why?
Why is that?
Because next week is week 1. It's real football conversations.
Cannot wait.
I'm not talking Trey Lance anymore. I'm not talking Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not talking about any of that crap.
Holdouts, hopefully.
None of the exactly. Hopefully Nick Bosa is all done by then. That is still a huge question mark, probably the biggest in the NFL right now. That and Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs. But Niner fans, if you want to get everything off your chest right now, Kyle Shanahan,
the last shot.
Michael Jackson, this is it right here. Trey Lance, Jimmy, Kyle, Purdy, Darnold, Brandon Allen, whatever. 888-957-9570. This is the last day to do it because I'm moving on to Pittsburgh next week.
Will we even remember how to talk about real games?
No, probably not.
We'll be looking for subplots. No, you're right. I mean, this is it, finally. In this offseason, I mean, if you really think about the 49ers and where they're at, where they've got a 23-year-old franchise quarterback. I think he's a franchise quarterback. They're coming off a year where they went to the NFC Championship game.
It's pretty wild.
They've got one of the most loaded rosters in the entire league. They're one of the Super Bowl favorites in Vegas. They're stacked. Ayuk, Debo, CMC all look like they're primed to have career years. They got dominating players on all 3 levels of their defense. And yet, the tone is so negative.
It's very
so
odd.
The sky is falling, and we're discussing Kyle and John being fired and you know the screw-ups of the organization. I mean, what do you think they're talking about in almost any other city? What's the dialogue in Atlanta about the Falcons? What's the dialogue in Nashville about the Titans? If it's
so
this
weird.
negative about a team that's been in 3 of the last 4 NFC Championship games and is this stacked and this loaded, I mean, are we just hyper negative? I mean, why is there so much negativity around a team that there should be? I mean, we should be. This is like in some ways the beginning of an incredible era.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because when I'm like a fan of a team and I want to go get my information, we love our roasters here. We love everyone that follows us at 95.7 The Game. All of our listeners, we love you. The Red and Gold Summit proved that. We have fans nationwide, worldwide, everyone, Morali, Vic, all you guys. Shout out to the Twitch and YouTube chat there, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. But we go to this station for critical analysis of our teams. We're not fanboy radio here, right?
Right.
So there's a fine line between, you know what, giving a team flowers, but also being critical of them. And for a lot of people, you know, it could be sunshine and rainbows. A lot of this team was just in the NFC Championship, Brock Purdy, everything's going to be fine. But what sells, Larry? That doesn't sell a lot. Something's got to be wrong. We got to hammer something. We got to jab, 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 poke, 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 because that's what sells today. Yeah, we could just say, it's going to be a cakewalk. No, we got to create urgency with this team. There's a sense of urgency with the San Francisco 49ers, and I think the fans are feeling that. They're tired of being the bridesmaid and never the bride. They want that Lombardi. People my age, I'm 30, Larry. Millennials, they don't know what a championship is. Unless you were 5 or 4 or whatever. They don't know what that is for the San Francisco 49ers. So they're sick and tired of being the runners-up. And Brock Purdy, for stretches last year, he showed he could be top 10. Hell, at times he felt like he was a top 5 quarterback with some of his play. We were talking about that, Bonte and I, a couple weeks ago. At times, he felt like this guy could do no wrong. It's amazing. So you couple that in to this season now, Brock Purdy and the expectations for the 49ers are sky high. And I think the conference has a lot to do with that. Like the sense of urgency for me with this 49ers squad, it's kind of hard to get wrapped around because I still think they could have a bad start. And they might. The defense might take a little while to catch up. We had David Lombardi on earlier this week on 95.7 The Game. He said, you know, it might take a little for Steve Wilkes and that whole blitz package. He's more of a blitzer than a D'Amico Ryans or a Robert Saleh of the past. That might take a little getting used to for some of these defensive players for the 49ers. But they could have a slow start. And I'm still like, it's the NFC.
Yeah.
If they get to the playoffs, it's fine. Like, I don't have a fear of anyone in the NFC right now. So maybe
Philly.
The sense of, okay. Outside of that,
I think it's a 2-team conference.
Okay, exactly.
I don't believe in Dallas. I don't really believe in the Giants.
And would you be
Detroit.
shocked? Would you be shocked if the Eagles took a step back this year? Would you be shocked?
No. Yeah. A lot of turnover at linebacker, a lot of turnover in the secondary, turnover. They lost both coordinators.
Yeah.
It's always difficult to go to the Super Bowl and then run it back the next year.
Show me again, Jalen Hurts. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's a hell of a talent. Like, just show me again, though. Like, that's same with Brock Purdy, right? Like, that's the thing with the NFL. unless you have been to a Super Bowl or hell, even won the Super Bowl like Mahomes and stuff like that. Hell, people still like to criticize Mahomes at times, which is crazy. But you're not going to get that benefit of the doubt. That's just the position of quarterback. So that's why we've been so critical of guys like Brock Purdy, right? It's just show me again. Jalen Hurts, show me again. Geno Smith, show me again.
Yeah. No, and this year, Lombardi might be right. I mean, this might be a year where the Niner offense has to kind of take the lead. I'll tell you what I'm really interested in. Yesterday, I was here, obviously, with Alan, and I wasn't down at camp, but Steve Wilks talked yesterday, and one of the questions that I'd love to ask Wilks, and he's a great guy, and I love asking him questions. I love talking to him because he's a straight shooter. And unlike D'Amico would never say a negative word about anybody.
It's true.
D'Amico always took the high road. He never buried his players. Steve Wilks strikes me as a guy who kind of calls it straight. He's verbal. He's aggressive. I just wonder if the Niner defense, the last 2 preseason games, granted it's preseason, gave up 6.5 yards a carry. They got gashed in the run game all throughout the preseason. The Raiders ran at will. Denver, Chargers, they just ran it, and they ran it in the A-gap. What happens if the Steelers do the same thing with Najee and Warren in week 1? I mean, is Steve going to lose his S? Is he going to come to the presser and call out Javon Kinlaw and the linebackers and the run D and call everybody out? I think the interesting thing about Wilks, he's coached a long time. But if you look at his track record, he's hardly coached anywhere for more than a year.
No.
It's like here, there, and it makes you wonder, especially when I hear him talk and how direct and passionate and, energetic he is. If things go south, especially when this was the number 1 defense in the NFL last year, number 1 overall, number 1 against the run, there are expectations they're going to be dominant. What if they're not? What if, Nick Bosa is going to get a mint? Nick Bosa is 3rd and long. What if you can't get to 3rd and long? What if it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 all year, and teams are just running it at will at Kinlaw and Hargrave? Hargrave is an awesome pass rusher. He's not a great run defender. No. So they're asking their linebackers to really dominate between the tackles. And I would imagine they'll be better in the regular season than they were in the preseason. I pray in some ways they're better. But if they're not, is Steve Wilks going to hit the podium and just bury guys? I'm wondering. And then what's the impact of that? Will he lose guys if he's so direct? If he's like, hey, this guy wasn't in his gap. That guy wasn't doing the job. If he starts calling dudes out, what's going to be the impact of that, especially on the heels of D'Amico buttering everybody's muffin every week? I'm interested to see how that dynamic plays out, and I want to see how good this Niner D really is this year.
Well, and they need Nick Bosa back. When's that going to happen? Is it going to happen? We had reports from Jason Dumas a couple days ago, Cron 4 sports director, our guy here at 95.7 The Game. He's like, he expects a Bosa deal to be done in the next couple days. Well, that was a couple days ago. So is it going to be today? Is it going to be this weekend? It'd be a nice little Labor Day present for 49er fans, Larry, getting their guy Nick Bosa signed up. Because let's be honest, outside of him, and you just mentioned it, on the other side, how good do you feel about Drake Jackson, Cleve Furl? Like these guys, it's kind of thin. And that's the term I would use. Whereas 49ers teams in the years past, it felt like they were pretty deep, right? Defensively.
Yeah.
Pretty thin.
They traded, let's be honest about it. They traded their defensive end depth for a special player at defensive tackle because Kinlaw's not that guy. Kinlaw got bounced around like a pinball machine in the playoffs, got kicked out of the club, and just got owned by Kelsey. What? And then all of a sudden it was like 5-alarm fire in the middle of the Niner defense. And we got to have Hargrave. We got to have Hargrave. But you know what? We got all these other players. We can't have Hargrave. Well, we can if we wave goodbye to Amenahue, bye-bye Ebukam, see you later Jordan Willis. And those 3 guys averaged 91 snaps in the playoffs. So, and I asked Koceric 3 weeks ago, face to face. I said, Chris, are you going to play your guys in a row? Are you going to play your ones? You got an awesome first team D line. Bosa, Jackson, I think is going to be really good. Hargrave, Armstead. I go, you going to run those guys out there a lot more snaps and maybe not have quite the rotation you had last year? He's like, no, I'm running my guys out there in a rotation. I can't play the first teamers 70 snaps. They won't even make it to December. We won't make it to the playoffs ready to roll and ready to win a championship. I got to rotate my guys. Okay, fine. But who are your guys? Austin Bryant, Kerry Hyder, Cleveland Farrell. Cleveland Farrell has 10 sacks in 4 seasons. Yeah. Austin Bryant doesn't look like a lot to me. Kerry Hyder to me looked flat out old this summer. So I don't know. Robert Beal had a couple of snaps where he just waltzed by Trent Williams and showed that unbelievable 4.4 speed. He's opening on IR. I'm just wondering, when they go to the 2s and they go to the 3s and they go to the rotation of the D linemen, are they going to get anything done? And if not, I mean, how good is it to have Hargrave if you're going to play these other guys a ton and they're not going to do anything for you?
Javon Kinlaw, though, he's a freak. He's ready for this year, Larry.
Nah, bro, I'm really a freak, though. Like, the world don't see point blank period.
Point blank period, right there, Larry. You have faith in Javon right there?
I mean, I'll say this: if you catch him on the right snap when he's playing knees bent with leverage, he looks awesome, right? He can waltz the guard or center just into the lap of the quarterback at will. He can bull rush with the best, but he doesn't come off blocks. Did he make a tackle in the preseason? I don't know if he did. I mean, there was a game, the Charger game, I thought he had a couple plays, Spinoni, where he's just bull rushing the offensive lineman, and it looks impressive. Then I looked at the stat sheet at the end of the game, and he didn't make a tackle, not even one. Man. So, I mean, this guy's they had DJ Jones a couple of years ago. He was dominant inside. You could not run in the A-gaps with DJ in there. Kinlaw's not that guy right now. So, if it's in there, man, I hope Chris can get it out of him.